much about President Gene Hackman in Absolute Power.
Matthew Perry and Salma Hayek try to survive a hasty marriage and fools rush in.
Also, this week's Academy Awards nominations. Who's in, who's out, who surprises us?
This person, they go in the front door, and then they go out a window and down a rope in the middle of the night. Now, if I could do something like that, I'd be the star of my AARP meetings.
Clint Eastwood plays a master thief who gets in over his head when he tangles with the President of the United States in Absolute Power, and that's one of the new films we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, along with our take on the surprises in the Oscar nomination list. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Absolute Power, directed and starring Clint Eastwood, co-starring Gene Hackman, Ed Harris, and Judy Davis. Those are heavy-duty actors in a trivial and tasteless and totally unbelievable action picture. Eastwood plays a thief who breaks into a rich man's home and then hears noises. The guy's wife comes into the bedroom where Eastwood has scored big time. He's sitting right behind a one-way mirror, and he's looking at her with another guy, an arrogant, vicious drunk who brutally assaults her in a very ugly scene. And then the capper. This is no ordinary guy. It's the President of the United States. His agents do away with the woman. Eastwood witnesses all of this behind that mirror, and he becomes a hunted man after the President's men discover someone was there all along.
What do I do?
Nothing. Because he's making a terrible mistake. He thinks he has time. He doesn't. Seth Frank's too good. He'll bring him in.
Then what?
Then I'd kill him.
Scott Glenn plays the murderous Secret Service man who tries to pump an unsuspecting detective played by Ed Harris.
The red tape you want cut, done. Here's my numbers. Any leads?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out what happened.
Eastwood's character is a good one, a master criminal who avoids the limelight, and this scene with his estranged daughter, played by Laura Linney, is a good one.
I was thinking of moving to a kinder, more gentle climate. I thought I'd talk it over with you, being as you're the only family I have.
Luther, you don't have me.
Kate.
You know what it's like to be the only kid at Show and Tell who got to talk about visiting day?
But when the movie reverts to all the President's men, that's where Absolute Power gets preposterous. We sit there thinking, this is absurd, as they plot to knock out Eastwood's character. He, in turn, sets up Chief of Staff Judy Davis by sending her a gift, along with a forged note from the President.
I sent a note.
Yes, yes. Do you think I don't know your writing? I assumed you wanted me to wear it tonight.
Gloria, it's lovely.
Yes.
And you know what else?
What else?
Christy Solomon wore it the night she was killed.
I would have liked to have seen Clint Eastwood's character appear in a better, more credible story. It's a good character. I think he's wasted in Absolute Power.
This is one of the best movies Clint Eastwood has made, and it's a fabulous thriller. It works from beginning to end, and one of the best things about it is that the characters work as human beings. The relationship between the father and the daughter, that really works.
I said
the way
so,
the
too.
the way the cop has a relationship with the daughter, the way the Secret Service man, who you called murderous, actually has twinges of conscience and cannot go through with this entire program. The way the
Somebody
chief of
dies,
staff,
somebody's murdered.
Somebody is murdered, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about the payoff.
That
which,
was a description of murderous.
well, but you say he's murderous at that point. He's not murderous anymore at that point. This is a thriller about a bad, mean drunk who does bad things and has to pay the consequence for it.
And I'm telling you that when I
What do we want, more good taste in our thrillers?
What? Not gross. Not so gross that I don't even accept it. Gene Hackman has a quality of excellence in him. He's one of our 2 or 3 finest actors in the last quarter of a century.
He's wonderful in this film. He's wonderful in this film.
Roger, this is a role that dozens of people could have done, lesser people could have done. And did you really buy this plot? You know,
yes.
Somebody is just, you bought this as all credible. You think this could happen?
Gene,
You just said yes.
First of all, yes. I mean, if you look at Oliver North and if you look at some of these other things, of course something like this could happen. Yes, of course it could.
And I've seen another critic describe this film as a comedy because it's so preposterous.
I've seen a lot of critics describe it as one of Eastwood's best work. Why don't we just compare our notes?
Okay.
That's what you want to do. Okay, next movie. Our next movie is That Darn Cat, a remake of a 1965 Disney comedy about a cat that leads the FBI. Talk about movies that aren't credible. It leads the FBI and its young owner to the solution of a crime. The movie stars Christina Ricci from the Addams Family as a 16-year-old who thinks she has info on the kidnapping of a local maid. She tells FBI agent Dougie Doug that the important new evidence was turned up by her cat, named DC.
Look, this is what I got off my cat, okay? Look and see. It says help on the back. I think it's from her.
A little bit of Dougie Doug goes a long, long way in this movie, but then the entire film is pitched at the same inane level. People overact to conceal the secret that the screenplay has absolutely no redeeming interest.
You're going in!
1, 2,
3!
You know, we have a doorbell.
I mentioned that the acting was not so great in this movie. I would extend that statement to apply to the cat, who is also not interesting. There are countless shots in this movie where DC the cat and its feline friends are allegedly participating in the plot, and in every one of them, I sense the presence of cat food just outside the edge of the frame. Even then, DC looked annoyed and impatient most of the time, and since I had to watch the movie, I could identify with that.
Oh, ridiculous. The cat basically, what's the most
He
common?
runs around.
He runs across a ledge.
Yeah.
That's it,
yeah.
because they couldn't get a performance out of it. And then, did you notice the cat?
She always has to lug him around. The cat will sit there and she'll pick him up and walk around while ascribing thoughts to the cat, while the cat looks like it just wants to be put down.
And Dougie Doug, let's get into why a little of him goes a long way. Because he's doing a bug-eyed performance that's 60 years old when it comes from an African-American today, right?
Well, I'm not, we could talk about that because I think he has the right to do any comedy.
He has the right to do any comedy, and we have the right to say, hey, you're sending off echoes of unhappy stuff.
One of the things I hated,
didn't
you could think of it that way. One of the things that I didn't like was the last 30 or 40 minutes of the movie. I swear maybe it was the last hour of the movie, I don't know, which consisted of an endless chase scene, which as far as I could tell was pointless.
We've spent too much time on That Darn Cat. Coming up next, Matthew Perry is a New York businessman who shares a sweet night with a Mexican-American woman in Las Vegas, and it leads to marriage in Fools Rush In.
You're married? The one with the body?
I do not believe these kids have a clue what they are getting themselves into.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Really?
I happen to think that it's terribly romantic.
Opposites attracting is a traditional theme of movie romances, and it's the premise of our next film, Fools Rush In. Manhattan nightclub developer Matthew Perry, after being transferred to Vegas, has a fling with pretty Salma Hayek. She believes fate brought them together. He doesn't.
No. I think if a guy gets hit by a bus, it's because he wasn't looking, not because of some master plan.
So you don't think that it was fate that you were standing in this line when I got off the phone?
Fate? No. No, I think it was more of a bladder thing.
Meeting again months after their one-night stand, she tells them she's pregnant.
Yes, I have always believed in a woman's right to choose.
That's good, because I choose to keep this baby.
Oh.
Many of the laughs play into stereotypes as the lovers meet each other's parents and friends. First, Matthew Perry meets his new relatives and Salma Hayek's former fiancé.
Alex, this is Chuy. He's a very good friend of the family. We grew up together.
Chewie, hi. Luke Skywalker. How are you?
Later, Hayek is mistaken for the maid by Matthew Perry's waspy parents, who show up for surprise visits.
You should have told them!
I wanted to do it in person, okay? Why is that so hard for you to understand?
Well, here's your big chance.
Actually, I found the lovers more attractive and fresher than any of their adventures in this sitcom. I liked them individually as characters, but thought of the truly bright writing of, say, the romance in Jerry Maguire, and found Fools Rush In wanting by comparison. It wasn't written as smart. This is a mixed review, but I was as disappointed as much as I was entertained by Fools Rush In.
I know what you're talking about, and yet I'm giving it thumbs up because the two of them were charming, and also because I like the families. I like the two mothers in particular, especially the Mexican mother, who has a lot of common sense on her side. And I also enjoyed the Salma Hayek performance.
We've only seen standard waspy stuff, really.
Okay. I also enjoyed the Salma Hayek performance. We've seen her before only really in action pictures like Desperado and From Dusk to Dawn. I didn't know she could do anything other than fire a machine gun and jump out of speeding cars. And here, she is very funny with good comic timing and a lot of warmth. And it sold the whole thing to me. As far as I was concerned, it worked as a romance.
This is where I think we differ sometimes, and I get frustrated with you as you were frustrated with me a little while ago, and that is I think you're too easy on this picture. You know what I'm talking about. Jerry Maguire, obviously one of the best films of the year, written smart.
There's a continuum here. Jerry Maguire is here. Fools Rush In is here. It's still good enough to see.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend it.
Darn Cat is here.
Darn Cat is subterranean.
Come on.
When we come back, David Arquette and Lucas Haas star in Johns. And we have a new system of reviewing movies. In addition to thumbs, you've seen it invented today by Roger. Here, here, and here.
Mr. John's last day.
Come on, John.
Those are two male hustlers working Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles in Johns, a moody and atmospheric new film about the struggle to survive in the sexual underworld. David Arquette stars there as John, a more experienced operator who has taken on Lucas Haas as sort of a protege.
The first thing I do is I ask them if they are in any way affiliated with the LA Police Department.
Right.
I still don't see why I got to do that, son. I mean, they're not going to say
get
yes.
it on the record, man.
What record?
The record. It's legal.
How do you know so much about the law?
I date a lot of lawyers, man. I know.
There's a certain amount of easy symbolism in the movie, maybe too easy, when we learn that John is about to turn 21 on Christmas Day, and that Christmas Eve has started out badly with the theft of his lucky sneakers.
I got me some heaven. One day and one night of doing it right. Drinking champagne, eating burgers, watching cable TV. I'm gonna be somebody for a day.
We meet some of their clients in the film, including the shifty, cheating husband played here with perfect pitch by Elliot Gould.
I need to borrow some money. You know, I'll pay you back, or I could work it off.
Is this some kind of a blackmail scheme?
Like Midnight Cowboy and My Own Private Idaho, this is a movie about young men who are basically too defenseless and naive to survive in the world they have been forced to inhabit. Yet we sense there's a lot of realism in this portrait, especially in the way the street people form a loosely knit community that shares information and tries to look out for its members. Johns is not a perfect film. The symbolism gets in the way of the story, but it's well acted and very good at creating the desperate repetition of street life.
I think it's a very well acted. I hope you're not putting it in the category of the films that you named, Midnight Cowboy. I mean, this is not anywhere near that level, right? You're just saying...
I was making a point about the fact that it shared similar subject matter.
Okay. I'm going to recommend the film, but I would rather have seen a documentary on the same subject, a harder edge to it. And I think that's what you're picking up on with the symbolism. They're trying to force this material, which I think that there's
into a story that doesn't need to be forced into.
Exactly right.
It would be better if it were more nihilistic or more minimalist.
Or
it was just about their lives rather than being having a story structure imposed upon extremely interesting characters and
if there is ever a place where there is no order, it would be on the street, where random violence, random anything, random pleasures occur.
Coming up next, our reaction to the surprise winners and losers in the Oscar nominations list announced earlier this week.
Time and time again, I've said that I don't care.
Annual Academy Awards were announced this week, and as always, there were some big surprises among both the lucky nominees and the not-so-lucky who were shut out. The biggest surprise loser had to be Madonna, not nominated for her performance in Evita.
All my words desert me, so anyone can hurt me, and they do.
What explains the omission? She She was absolutely convincing in the role, but the movie doesn't take a hard enough look at who Eva Perón really was. Additionally, Madonna may have really stepped in it when back in December, at the London premiere of Evita, she said she did expect to get a nomination. And finally, maybe the Actors Branch thought her role wasn't that tough because she's a singer, and without dialogue, that's not acting. I think they're wrong. I think they were also wrong about Courtney Love. She's had drug problems, they may have thought, so her character in The People vs. Larry Flint has drug problems. That's not acting. I think that is a big mistake. The Actors Branch doesn't realize that these are not documentaries that are being shot. These are performances. So the headline is, rock stars lose. And actually, of the two performances, Courtney Love's was the tougher one, in my opinion.
Yes, that's the one I would have voted for. Well, the biggest surprise of all this year was how good most of the nominations really were, but there were some exceptions, and I was especially disappointed in the nominations in the documentary category. Now, Gene and I, have complained for years that the selections in this category are hopelessly out of date. After the scandal over the failure to nominate Hoop Dreams, the Academy made some reforms, but again this year, the list of nominations inexcusably fails to include the year's best and most successful documentaries. No nomination, for example, for Paradise Lost, The Child Murders at Robin Hood Hills, which was the year's most talked about doc. No nomination for Al Pacino's Looking for Richard, a brilliant piece about acting, which was on Gene's top 10 list. No nomination for Microcosmos, with its breathtaking up-close photography of the insect world. And no nomination for A Perfect Candidate, the searing look at the Virginia senatorial race between Charles Robb and Oliver North. Did the documentary committee see these films? Why did they exclude them? How could they exclude them? Why do they continue their obsessive tilt towards safe, educational films that are far, far from the cutting edge of contemporary documentary filmmaking? What does it take to send these people a wake-up call?
You know what? They resent the success of documentary films. These are people that toil in the shadows of the big boys, okay? And when one of their members gets out, breaks out, and makes it, they resent them and they charge it against them, and they think, well, they already got the box office, so we're not going to give them an award. And that's biased, it's wrong, it's not rewarding excellence, and frankly, probably they should simply cut this documentary committee apart and let people nominate
whatever they want to.
Let the whole branch nominate them, okay?
If there were a documentary branch, which is another issue. Coming up next, surprise inclusions on the Oscar nominations list. What delighted Gene and me most about this year's selections when we come back.
Huh?
We were surprised we're not nominated for this year's Oscar race. Now let's talk about people who we are pleasantly surprised were nominated. At the top of my list is Billy Bob Thornton, who wrote, directed, and starred in Sling Blade, and who got nominated both for his acting and for his screenplay. It's a completely original piece of work, the creation of this character who talks and thinks oddly, but who we come to care for a great deal.
They said I wasn't right in the head, so they put me there in a nervous hospital instead of putting me in jail.
They let you out?
Yeah.
How come?
They told me I was well. Had to turn me loose.
In my newspaper review of Sling Blade, I wrote, if there were the slightest justice and curiosity in the Academy Award process, Thornton's work would get a nomination. Well, I guess there was justice, and I guess there was curiosity, because it did get nominated, and that's great because it will allow more people to see this special and powerful motion picture.
And he can thank videotape for his nomination, because this film grossed less than $500,000, and yet the Academy voters saw it on tape.
They did their homework.
And they should be congratulated. That's a terrific nomination, and so is this one that I really pushed for. William H. Macy, nominated as Best Supporting Actor as the sad sack, heavily in debt car dealer who dreams up an idiotic plot to ransom his wife through his rich father-in-law in Fargo, the year's best film.
No, see, they only deal with me. You feel this nervousness on the phone there? They're very... These guys are dangerous.
All the more reason. I don't want you... With all due respect, Jerry, I don't want you mucking this up.
Actually, I thought William H. Macy deserves to be in the lead category, but I'm delighted he received recognition for playing a loser, the kind of roles that are often overlooked. I've raved about Fargo since it first opened 11 months ago, and William H. Macy's understated, imploding performance as car dealer Jerry Lundegaard is critical to the film's success.
Boy, it sure is. And you know, I looked at the movie not long ago again on video. It's when I just hope that the Academy voters, before they just cave in and go with something respectable like English Patient,
or Shine,
or something sentimental like Shine, just look at Fargo on tape and see that this is exciting, original, dynamic, alive work, and give it a chance. Give a good movie a chance.
The performances and the visual look at it. I've already seen a TV commercial that rips off the overhead shot of the snow-filled parking lot. This is a brilliant piece of artistic work. Let's make it win. What else can I say?
Now let's get out the pom-poms.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this show. A split decision for Absolute Power, the Clint Eastwood thriller. I thought it was smart and suspenseful, one of Eastwood's best. Gene felt there were way too many holes in the ridiculous plot. 2 thumbs down for That Darn Cat, a movie so darn bad that even the darn cat wasn't all that darn entertaining. A split decision on Fools Rush In. I love the energy and chemistry in its offbeat love story. Gene could see too much of the formula, even though he did like the actors. And finally, 2 thumbs up for Jaws and its moody, effective performances by David Arquette and Lucas Haas.
That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including Blood and Wine, starring Jack Nicholson and Michael Caine as uneasy partners in a jewel heist. And also, The Empire Strikes Back. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Static Guard stops clothing cling anywhere. Spray every day on skirts, pants, and in coats to eliminate cling. Static Guard, the static stopper.
Rich, buttery toffee, wrapped in smooth milk chocolate. Isn't it time you had a Heath bar? Have a Heath.
You have a 30-year mortgage. So shouldn't you have a 30-year faucet? Moen. Buy it for looks. Buy it for life.
One loan, one payment each month, and nothing more. With a combo loan from the Money Store, you can refinance your mortgage and consolidate your bills. Call 1-800-LOAN-YES.